Okay. Wow. All right. So already, the only thing that's missing out of here that I see for like lies and stuff is potentially the moon. But you have the six, you have the seven of swords and the high priestess already, so that's already being spotted. But I do get the sense that for a lot of you guys, you're taking you take your time right now. I'm gonna need all the help I could get with all these cards here because it looks like there is a lot going on. And we're going to probably potentially end up pulling clarifiers for this as well. But let's go individually and see what's going on. So you have the Seven of Pentacles, okay? And typically I wouldn't have looked at the underlying energy because, you know, there's already so many cards here. But we're going to need to look at some stuff very clearly so we could get some information. Now, for the Seven of Pentacles, in their past, I feel like there was something that you were working on, spending a lot of time and effort towards, but it hasn't been showing any sort of reward. Honestly, it's been more exhausting and tedious and backbreaking, honestly. And to be quite frank, I feel like in the past, it was really kind of hard to even consider, you know, not consider, but it was really hard to continue to push forward with no sort of reward from it. Okay, of course, I feel it definitely you guys have overcome this, and I feel like the option that you guys have taken in regards to the Seven of Pentacles was to go ahead and just skedaddle and skedoodle, get out of there, just forget it, never mind. Because I think in the present moment, you guys are potentially evading some things. You're not really wanting to address it head on, and I think it's because you haven't gotten the rewards that you guys were looking for in the past. I think nothing, you know, whatever you were working towards, it wasn't, you know, building up to anything. Anything lucrative, anything that you potentially wanted, whatever you were trying to manifest, you just were not seeing the blossoms for it. You're just like, nah. So right here, you guys are, you know, leaving the situation, or you guys are potentially, you know, getting out of it, avoiding it potentially. And this avoidance, right, what you guys are end up doing is stepping outside of your comfort zone, because this is something you've been working on for quite a long time. And I feel like you leaving this, you know, leaving that behind to kind of adjust to getting some sort of, to kind of avoid the situation. You're done with it, but at the same time, you're stepping into unfamiliar territory. And with this sort of, energy with this unfamiliar territory, you do gain a new perspective in the future. So this so far is making a lot of sense, right? So let's go ahead and jump into the internal. Now, the internal portion of the past, we're looking at the Eight of Swords. So in the past, when it came to the Seven of Pentacles, it was feeling like there was just only one way of doing things. You felt trapped. You know, there was not a lot of mental clarity, especially when there was some, there was a lot of doubt and a lot of frustration going on here. There was just like, you kind of felt like you were just being closed in. Your thoughts were going kind of insane. So I do get the sense here that with this Eight of Swords, you guys were really feeling, like there was no other way, or there's no other options. There was like it was already very hard to commit to potentially to this anyway, considering that you have the Five of Wands in your external, and you constantly have to fight and constantly have to compete and kind of keep your head above the water. And I know there is no cups anywhere, which is very interesting, especially in a love reading. I would love to see that, but there is no cups. So it's almost like for this sort of situation, if those of you are in a relationship or those of you that are single, you guys have been trying to get out there and potentially do some things, but it's a constant battle. It's a constant fight to kind of be recognized, to it's almost like a competition between everyone, and it's something that you're just not really, you're not really interested in putting your energy in, which is totally understandable. So with this energy, with the Five of Wands and Seven here, that's change. That's really serious change here. One that is of value to you in regards to action, taking action, or the energy, the passion. I feel like honestly your passions have changed, and it's kind of hard to kind of keep trying to keep the ball rolling when your passions are changing every second. So yeah, it makes sense where you don't know if you can truly invest your time, or in the past you didn't know if you could truly invest your energy into something you didn't know if you really truly wanted to do anymore, because this is you seeing all types of different sides, you're seeing all types of different angles, and at the same time you have your own technique, which is great, but at the same time you don't feel like there's a lot of other options. even though there is some available, there's some in front of you, which is very interesting. I'm going to definitely clarify that in a second there when we kind of go through everything. But Seven of Swords, right? So potentially, right, what could have happened here in the past is that you got, you were kind of sick and tired of working so hard and not getting some sort of, results from it. You were just kind of constantly working, and you ended up like feeling trapped in your thoughts, not being able to see a solution because all you could see potentially was the conflict, was the back and forth, was the bit, which ways and about it. You had inner turmoil potentially as well, because that's what this, I feel like the Eight of Swords is mental conflict in itself. So with this conflict that you had going on internally and externally, you just had to get out of there. Presently, you had to get out of there. I feel like you had to step outside of your comfort zone, because this is kind of comfortable in a way in itself, in a very, somewhat disturbing way. This is a bit of misery that was kind of getting too comfortable. You were not happy here, but it was still something that you were used to. Like I said, you've been doing this for quite some time, but at the same time, I don't feel like you felt like it was worth your time anymore. I feel like you were definitely reevaluating your worth and reevaluating whether or not the goal that you had is even worth fighting for, considering that you're constantly feeling trapped, you constantly feel miserable, and you constantly are dealing with conflict in the external energy. So yeah, you potentially did not want to stay in that energy. You just avoided it. You could be currently escaping it or trying to get out of it. And I feel like for a lot of you guys, it's taken you to a new element. You're still a fixed sign, right? So any sort of change is very, very big. Any sort of relocation of any sort, mentally, emotionally, physically, it takes a second, because you guys are very grounded energy. When you guys are kind of like squares, not saying that you guys are boring, but like you guys are, you're placed in a certain way so you don't topple over, so you don't get shoved, you're not easily pushed and shoved over to the side. You're not like this. You're more of a platform, or you're more of a table, if not to make the sense of balance of what I'm trying to say. You're not a table, actually. You're just more of that balancing thing. You're not meant to, well, you can be shifted around and moved like a table can, but you're meant for stability. You're meant, you like stability. You like to have stability in your surroundings, within yourself. So when it comes to relocating or stepping outside your comfort zone and doing something else, or doing something that is going to require you to get outside of your comfort zone, whether this is literally deciding to just ditch it completely, or you guys may have taken a risk and went ahead and continued to do the work. I mean, I feel like there is still a change in some serious way, because the 7 is still here. You have 7 coming up as well. So with the 7 of Swords coming into this, right, internally you feel very stressed out. You lose the sleep. You're not really able to, really see the situation as clearly as it should be, because there's a lot of, there's a lot of sadness, a lot of depression. You're still dealing with what was going on in the past, but it's got worse. Now it's more of that you can't. It's always hard to see that there is a way out. It's very hard to see that there is even a potential for anything to turn out right. And I feel like it's because potentially that you may have left a situation where you may not have been, you may not have wanted to deal with it anymore, or you guys have taken a risk and you stayed, and it's, it's really wearing down on you guys. Externally, you have the two of Wands here. So the Two of Wands is indicating to me that, you're stressed out, right? Most importantly, you're trying to do something and your situation is stressing you out, but you're trying to also figure out which way to go from here. You're also trying to figure out where you're going to pursue your next passion, what passion you're going to pursue, and what plans do you need to, what do you need to do at this moment to get started? Because honestly, you've been working hard and it's been very boring and unsatisfying with this card here. When I see this card, it's dissatisfaction in the work that you're doing because you're not seeing the rewards. And now you're stepping outside of your comfort zone in some which way. I don't know what y'all did. Either you guys, like I said, either left it or you stayed or whatever. You're now in a place where you want some things to happen because there's just, it's very suffocating. I'm getting a lot of suffocating energy. Swords in all internal aspects of your reading. Okay, but you just feel like there's a lot of suffocation. So you try to escape it. You try to get out of it. And it feels like you never even left. You never even moved. It didn't even feel like you did it. You made any sort of decisions. It's almost like you're at a crossroads and you've been, you just left the conflict behind, but you're still feeling like you are still at somewhat of a conflict when this Two of Wands comes up. Because it's not like it could potentially even be a battle to find a way out of your situation. And that's the hard part, right? It seems like there is a battle with this whole thing. Okay, now moving on to your future here, right? From going to like feeling sad and depressed, and you're not really sure which direction to take or which passions you want to pursue. And I feel like you have the world in your hands here, just kind of map out where to begin. But at the same time, there is a lot to work with. So there's so many potential. There's so many possibilities. Where are you going to go, right? And that's stressful in itself. So I feel like because the advice is here. The advice is here. The Nine of Swords could be indicating that you can make the steps necessary. You can get out of your situation. You can overcome all of this. You just have to see the situation for how it is. It may be still really bad, considering that the Seven of Swords. The Seven of Swords is not a bad card. It's just talking about potentially, deceit and, not being completely honest or avoiding situations. You're stepping outside of your comfort zone. You're not going to be stressed. You're not going to be happy about it. You're going to be stressed out, no doubt. But there is a place where you could start beginning to build your home, to build something that you could truly feel proud of. And that is, you can do that. It's just going to require you to have faith. Because you had faith here to move out of this situation. Are you currently thinking about escaping or thinking about getting out of a situation? Are you thinking about doing something that at least gets you somewhere else, get you somewhere new? And I feel like with that kind of idea, with that process going on, you will end up gaining the perspective that you're looking for. Now, this perspective has a lot to do with your inner pain that you're experiencing, these old issues that come up, these old problems, these old feelings that don't sit well. So, and I feel like it's that you're healing whatever kept you from being able to utilize the energies in the way that you feel like you could better utilize them. It's because in the external energy, you're using your instincts. You're allowing yourself to just go with the flow, go with how you feel. And go with how you feel means go with what's being triggered and healing those. And that's a hard thing, right? Because your new perspective is, hey, if you can't, you're not opening up in either of these. Honestly, you're not opening up here. It's contemplation whether this is worth your time or not, and potential evasion, right? You're not really wanting to deal with this, but it's getting worse, right? It gets worse from here. So you honestly, guys, it's going to be very important to be open, if not to anyone else, not to people around you, because this seems like this is overwhelming to you. And I mean, this is typically not a really bad energy. It's more of conflict, but at the same time, it's getting worse progressively. But it gets better, right? It gets better. I feel like it gets better here, but it gets worse because there's a lot of, I don't want to say reaction, but it's just the thoughts becoming too much, and you don't end up knowing where to go because you're not really seeing what you need to see. And I'm just going to clarify a lot of this because the future looks actually very good. I know the Three of Swords is very scary and it's not a very easy card to even endure, but it is a better card than the Nine of Swords and the Eight of Swords because you don't feel like you have options. You don't have hope in either of these cards. The Three of Swords, it may be devastation, it may be pain, but you have options here. You could take the swords out. See the swords here? How are you going to get the swords out the sky if you can't see it? If you don't even know how they're even being hung up, how are you going to take them down? How are you going to get out of this situation here with the swords if you can't see it? If you're tied up, if you can't see in front of you, right? These two almost show no options. This one potentially has more options, but it's just that everything is so overwhelming and so sad and so depressing that it kind of blocks your view. Internally, it blocks your view, so you don't even know where you want to be. You don't know where you want to go because emotionally, internally, you got to, you're sad. You got things that mentally are plaguing you. And it may not, and I don't know, this may not help. It's honestly possibly diving in deep. That's what the Seven of Swords could potentially mean. But you have this, Seven of Swords and the High Priestess. It just may be that there is something that's not being said, and that could potentially be these old issues. Why is the Eight of Swords? Nope, that's too many cards. Why is the Eight of Swords coming up for Aquarius? Okay, I understand that. We're going to go back to that in a second. Let me just pull all these and it'll make I think it'll tie them together. Nine of Swords. Why? Why are they feeling the Nine of Swords in the present? Why do they have the Seven of Swords in the present? What does the Seven of Swords mean for Aquarius? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Ah, jeez. And what does the High Priestess mean in the future? What does the High Priestess mean for Aquarius in the future? Wow. Okay. Why the Knight of Pentacles? What about this Knight of Pentacles? How does the Knight of Pentacles affect Aquarius? Queen of Swords. Jesus. Wow. Wow, the King of Swords. The King of Pentacles is underneath here. This is getting interesting here, guys. This is getting interesting already. Now, like we're starting here, right? The reason why you may not have seen things that you could have clearly enough because your thoughts were so overwhelming was because that you had a lot of responsibility or you had a lot of pressure. Now the Queen of Wands, she doesn't really crumble to pressure. When she wants something, she goes and gets it. She's very outgoing. She's a very social butterfly. But potentially, I know how you guys are. You guys are really all about the community. You guys like to be with people in groups and things, not individual. And this Leo North Node has been taking a toll on you guys very badly since you guys are the South Node. And the closer we get to the to the earlier degrees, I feel like maybe it's intensifying because it's closing up of that cycle here. Now with the Queen of Wands, yes, it's hard to be the person in the spotlight or to really be the person of attention, because it's putting you in a I don't know, it may feel like you're at conflict with your environment. You may be feeling that you're in conflict with your partner that you guys may be involved with. For those of you that are single, this could be that you are it's a lot of tension is on you right now, and you have a lot of people around you, and you don't really necessarily you don't care about what's going on externally, because internally you already feel trapped. You already feel like you're stuck in the light, if that makes sense. You're stuck in the limelight, because the Queen of Wands is someone that gains the attention, that she attracts all those things, and to feel like the reason why you're feeling stuck is potentially because you feel potentially like you're in the limelight. Now for some of you guys, this could be a twin flame as well, that you guys could be feeling like you guys are stuck in a twin flame relationship, because you do have the Queen of Wands here. The Queen of Wands wouldn't be you. It would actually, if it was, it would be the person of it would be the twin, because you guys would have came up as the King of Wands if this was talking to you guys. That's kind of just how I read for general readings, not for client readings though. So you guys may be feeling trapped because you are tied to something. You feel trapped because emotionally and mentally you can't escape a certain individual potentially. And this individual has a very magnetic attraction to you specifically. And you've been working very hard and diligently to potentially build this relationship or to build something of stability with this individual, but you're constantly hit with conflict. You're constantly hit with double thoughts or thinking over double second thoughts, rather. That's what I meant. Second thoughts, not double thoughts. But you know what I'm saying? With the Five of Swords, it's almost like you have a lot of conflict externally, so the inner thoughts are kind of being and they're a lot more louder because of the noise outside. Now, considering that is the case, right, you move on to the Seven of Swords and the Eight of Swords. It's almost as if these two are like high-fiving each other. Again, we have the trio. 3, 8, 9. Oh, sorry, 7, 8, 9. Excuse me, there's 3. But you have 7, 8, and 9 here. The reason why you have this, what does this mean? What does this mean for you? Well, you're getting out of this situation where you don't really see a way out. You feel you're trying, right now it's all about figuring out how to get out of this feeling of feeling trapped. Like you're just stuck here. It's almost isolation. Like you're just literally trying to figure out a way to resolve this feeling of isolation. And it's potentially because everything shows itself to be the same. There's no new offers that you see. There's nothing coming in. There's no new love. It's stressing you guys out because you feel like the only way for people to even see you are these 3 cups, right? It's support, not someone that's an individual, not love. And you want someone to offer you something very specific and tailored to your heart, potentially. Because the 9 of Swords is all about how they feel internally, what their thoughts are feeling, what they're stressed out about, what they're depressed about. The depression has a lot to do with the support, or the depression has a lot to do with the 3 of Cups. The 3 of Cups is about community. And I feel like it's what is the community can portray certain things, like the 5 of Wands, right? There could be a lot of competition, but what are they fighting for? The idol? The Queen of Wands, she's very authentic. Yes, she's very straightforward. She's not fake in any way, but it's the image potentially that they could be going after, and that's what stresses you out potentially. Maybe you're stressed out because there's an image, or maybe you guys are seen as someone that's very helpful potentially, or someone that's an icon, or very iconic. But most importantly, you feel internally like stuck with someone, and you are seen as someone of light, and it's almost like people are fighting over you, and you don't really know if you like that. You don't know if you don't feel like you're being seen for who you truly are, because you don't know what people are fighting for. So for the external energy with this, you have the 2 of Wands. The 2 of Wands is indicating here that there is a decision to make. You have the world in your hands. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of avenues to go. There's no just one way, but straight is not a place, is nowhere you can go, right? You can't move forward. It's a either or situation. And I feel like you're trying to, honestly, with that world, you're trying to figure out what ways you can kind of go about your journey that's not the typical way. Something that's exciting, something that's legitimately new. Because this is the same old, same old. And honestly, I don't know how many times y'all have been at the two of Wands. It gets boring after a while. It does. And I know it's not the 2 of Pentacles. It don't have to be the 2 of Pentacles to still be boring. If it's still the same thing that you've been dealing with internally, and you feel like you've been caught at this crossroads before, you honestly may be looking for authentic, or something, not authentic, unique ways of getting out of your situation. Getting out of, of doing something different, because it's the same old thing constantly. So I feel like with this process, right, it's about like the internal dialogue that you've got going on. It's focused on some things that may need shifting. Okay, I don't know if the 3 cups are something that you can, that's really, it's dire, and I feel like that's what you're focusing on with that 9 of Swords. You're focusing on the 3 cups that's causing you a lot of stress, but there is an option behind you. There is something here being presented to you. There is help available, but you don't see it because your inner voice is so loud, and it's hard to kind of silence your thoughts and kind of see and get to a place of emotional stability when you are constantly, you're constantly hearing, you're constantly hearing loud thoughts, okay? And you're not, and these thoughts are just like screaming at you which way to go, and you don't even think there's even a way out. So I really feel like, guys, stepping outside of your comfort zone is the best part. Just trying, I feel like with this this energy here, the path you may need to take may be the obvious one. It may be the obvious one. You may not have to be, outside, completely outside the box to get what you want. Potentially everything that you need is right there in front of you, or right there, right behind you. It's not even that far, but it's hard for you to see if the noise in your head is so loud. And if you constantly are isolated, and the community is not fulfilling you, or the people that are you're surrounding yourself with isn't fulfilling you, then then it's gonna come down to what it is that you truly want for yourself. And I feel like that's another hard thing, because you're having to decide what it is that you want. What is your passions? What is going to really engage you and bring out your creativity? Because you're a creative individual, and you have creative blocks right now. Now, moving on to the future, right? And I know this was very weird advice. I'm going to try and pull one more just to see what else I can get with this. And I know I'm going way over time, so I hope you guys don't get upset too much. Wow. The advice is the King of Cups. It's almost like you're saying to connect with the person you're spiritually connected to. The twin flame, potentially. Now, I don't get any karmics cards, so typically I wouldn't have even gone there. Okay, I wouldn't even gone to the twin flame thing. But that just looks crazy to me. Eight of Swords because the Queen is the Queen of Wands. I wouldn't see you guys as the Queen of Wands. If this was you, it would be the King, potentially, because you guys are fixed. So when it comes to the Queen, potentially being emotionally open, because you have the King of Cups. But expression is one of the things that the King of Swords does not do. He doesn't speak. He doesn't say what bothers him. And I feel like maybe communication is the key. And I know it may be difficult considering that you feel a lot, because when the King of Cups comes up, he's feeling so many things all at once. And it may be hard to explain to people what it is that you're feeling, but maybe even if that person may not understand, it at least alleviates, or it pretty much relieves you of the stress that you've got going. It's so strange. Perhaps you don't need to express it. But I feel like, honestly, is to know what you're feeling, to identify what you're feeling, has a lot to do with another individual. The connection that you feel with this individual is so spiritually tight that it's affecting your inner thoughts. You're executing things externally, but emotionally you have no, it's almost like, I don't know. It's almost as if, it's almost as if you just, this person is just like is connected in such an interesting and intertwined way. It's so interesting. Now, if this being the case that you have to look internally, you have to communicate how you're feeling, potentially with the Three of Swords here in your internal, that's where the things start to open up. That's when the real blockages are. You get to the core of what the heck is going on. You can actually recognize the problem at hand. All right, because you can tend to it. You can fix it. You can heal your heart. But the King of Cups potentially could be you. It's about feeling, like I said, emotionally open, listening to your instincts as well. Going with the flow, because things are not easy to see at this time. So you're gonna have to go with the flow, because the High Priestess is in the future as well. You're having to go with the flow. You're having to just trust your instincts. You're just gonna have to just go along with it, and it may be so. It's honestly stressful because you don't do that. You have clarity. You like to have clarity in your thoughts, but perhaps the clarity that you need is the abilities that you have that's coming in of King of Cups. Now, this is very interesting considering this is supposed to be a love reading, but perhaps the whole thing is that there is some sort of emotional development, and that's what's causing a lot of stress. There's a lot of emotional things, emotional layers that you're having to overcome, and it has a lot to do with these inner fears, these inner pains, these heartaches, and these heartaches unlock that key. Unlock that door to emotional awakening, and that's why you potentially have the the High Priestess coming up in the future, because you not only have new perspective about how you guys are how you guys receive information, or how you guys receive your gifts. Maybe you even ascend to something more. But why do you have the High Priestess? Because of the Knight of Pentacles. And why is the Knight of Pentacles coming up? Because of the Queen of Swords. So potentially these two individuals here, They could be indicating that, you know, the reason why is because you have a connection with a Virgo towards Capricorn, and that connection is sacred to some degree. It's sacred because this individual you see as your soulmate or your partner, because the Queen of Swords does come up. Could be you as well. You guys could feel like you have a new perspective. You guys know who this individual is. You guys know what this individual means to you. I feel like the connection between you and this individual is sacred, but also it's not only connecting you with this individual, but it heightens your ability to see the details. It heightens your ability to see things that you may have missed before, where you may have had to slow down and take your time. You now have the ability to see it all and still be fast with the Queen of Swords, still be on, you know, on point and fairly quick. All right, let's go ahead and see what's going on with your whispers of love. For the week. Aquarius, whispers of love. What do they need to know for this week? Slow down. You are excited. Sorry, when you are excited, you get ahead of yourself. Take some time to allow things to unfold. I'm going to show you the card. Just let me put this down. That's amazing. And ask for help is underneath here too. You're not alone. And I feel like that's what the reading was pretty much trying to say, is that you guys feel very isolated and alone, but you're not. You're keeping everything kind of private and keeping everything internal, because everything that's happening externally is happening, right? But internally, you're closed in, you're tight, and you're not seeing what could potentially get you out of your situation potentially. So you feel like you have to take risks, you have to go outside of your comfort zone, you have to do X, Y, Z, and potentially that is potentially talking about it and, you know, confiding in someone, or, you know, or being open in some sort of way emotionally. And that's hard because you're a pretty private person. Slow down. And slow down, I don't know if you guys are going necessarily very fast, honestly, because all this energy does not seem to be going very fast. But I feel like it's saying to be patient with yourself more so than anything. Not that to slow down, like you're making too many decisions and too fast of a time without really thinking about it. I do feel like, honestly, that you need to have more compassion and patience for yourself and the people around you. And it's going to be hard because people don't understand. Because as you see, this is a lot of shit that's going on that nobody gets. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff internally with you that you're having a hard time understanding potentially, because you finally see the problem here in the future. You have the Ace of Swords. You got clarity in the situation with these two cards. There is some clarity finally sparking, but at the same time, there is a lot of decisions being made. There's a lot of, you know, potentially like getting out, you know, just avoiding stuff because you don't know what's going on. And I feel like it's gonna come, but you have to remain patient. You have to remain patient with yourself. And it may be frustrating that, you know, you have stuff that's internally bugging you and there is no solution, because you can't figure out what's going on. It's gonna come. The door's gonna open. You just have to be patient with yourself. You have to be patient with the universe, because the answers are coming. It's just that it's ticking a little bit. But you guys will have all the knowledge needed, because the High Priestess is in the future. You guys will be able to see all things. Okay, even the hidden stuff. Because there's something that's hidden here. And it has a lot to do with potentially where you're looking. And you may need to just give yourself patience right now.